Hey everyone. Cool. Hey everyone. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. I hope you can hear me and see me okay. Can somebody throw me a chat hello to say if you can hear me and see me okay? Because I can't see you at all. I can see that there's people there, but I can't see you the way you can see me, or hopefully the way you can see me. Hey, I got something from Andrew and from Alexander. Thank you very much. And again, sorry for the delay in getting to you guys. I'm happy to be here with you. And in this way, I'm here in San Francisco, not far from University of San Francisco, which is where I went, the sister school of your school. So I'm happy to be here. And what I thought I'd do is take you through. The reason why I called this thing Production in Place is because I want to take you through some production things that I've been doing while I've been stuck here, sheltered in place. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll get into different music stuff here. So I'm a recording artist, musician, producer. I'm originally from San Jose, but I've been in San Francisco for a long time now, and I've spent my career careening between genres, everything from contemporary classical to funk and hip hop and songwriter, singer-songwriter, spoken word, free jazz, even some Americana and country and EDM. So a lot of stuff. The thread in my work, both as an artist and as a producer, is rhythm. I'm a drummer and beat programmer and a big believer in what the intentionality of a rhythm does to a musical piece. I've spent an enormous amount of time in recording studios, as well as stages, but recording studios are definitely my second home. I was a producer on staff for a record label in San Francisco for many years, and produce other artists and of course make my own work as well. I have a new song coming out this Friday called Dollar Store Steak, and I'll play a little bit of it for you here from my other laptop, and I'll tell you a little bit why. Later I'll tell you why I'm playing it, and I'll get into how I made it with this bare bones thing that I have set up here. So let me get this going here as you'll see me fiddling with gear from time to time. And here is a bit of the song Dollar Store Steak. So that's not the whole thing, but I wanted to play you some of it. So I wanted to break it down a little bit about how I ended up doing it. The reason I'm playing it now, and not only because it's coming out on Friday, but like I mentioned before, I'm a studio guy, and I love working with engineers, and I love working with really nice gear, and engineers that really know what they're doing, that can pick great microphones and have the best outboard gear, so I can get the sounds that I really like, the sounds that I'm trying to achieve with every session. In fact, I like it so much. I like working in studios and with engineer partners so much that I never bothered to build my own home studio. People always ask me, what's your home studio like? And I don't have one. I did, however, make sure that I had a few things with me so that I can make music I want at the professional level I need at home with virtually no real studio gear. I find the constriction liberating. I don't, because I'm extremely limited at home, so I have to be resourceful with what I come up with. I don't have enough mics to mix my whole drum set, for instance, or to do anything really fancy. And obviously there's no other musicians coming over to play with me on during Shelter in Place. I did cheat, and I had this song mixed by an engineer friend of mine in Pro Tools. But everything that you heard on that track was actually done here with my phone and a few things I think which are out of camera right now, but like various acoustic percussion instruments that I added in. And what I wanted to do was kind of take it track by track and also show you the tools that I use when I'm doing things like this. I want to give you a quick glimpse into how you can make the most of your music making at home, no matter what level really you are in terms of production. Just using tools that you have around. Sometimes it's found stuff, like there's an ashtray that I use, a silver ashtray that I use for a percussion thing on that track. And I don't smoke, but I found it in Salvation Army. And then there's many apps and things you can download onto your phone that are really, really helpful and in facilitating and inspiring your work. So one of the first things I want to show you was an app developed by a very famous musician and music producer named Brian Eno, who's known for breaking breakthroughs in recording and production, especially with David Bowie. And he was one of the first people to come out with an app, and it's called Bloom. And I'll show you what it looks like here. So it's called Bloom. And I've found it really helpful in various production situations to use this app especially when I'm making like ambient stuff. So I use this little connector to go right in here, and I'll fire up a GarageBand here. Sorry, I gotta do one more thing here. I'll do it like this then. So with Bloom, it's very easy to create music that have these sorts of ambient sounds, and you are in total control of it. So this is what it looks like. It's just this requires very little of the musical skill you have, but the discernment that you use in picking where you hit and what sorts of patterns you create with it are really good. And there's a online magazine called Negozine that came out 2 weeks ago, and they had commissioned a poem and a track from me, and I used this on the track as well as some other electronics. But this is that's an app that I like to use quite a bit. And turning my attention to the Dollar Store Steak track. As you heard on there, there's tons of electronics. So I used the IK oscillator, which is a tool from Korg, which Korg made free during shelter in place. So it might even still be free. So I encourage you to go get it if it's still free, and even if it's not, it's worth it. And it's a very inspiring app that you can use to build off of. Like for me, it was like I got very inspired listening to the grooves they had, and then started to layer other things on top of it. Like for this one has, and you can do solos, you can add different keyboard parts, and you can solo on it and things like that. It's a very, very cool one. Another one that I like quite a bit, especially for beat making, is this one called iMachina. So I've seen people call it iMachine, other people call it iMachina. But I like this one quite a bit because built into this app, you can see down here, I think you can see there, there's a section for beat making, a section for like keyboard parts, and you can also add vocals. So you can make a little demo just using this. So for instance, on this one, I think I already have like a hi-hat part. The metronome. You can hear that. And I can add. That's another one that's really good and really, really helpful. And for me, I use that as like a basis for a track. Because as a drummer, I'm always going to want to play real instruments as well over a track. So, for instance, once I had a good electronic bass or basis for the Dollar Store Steak track, I started adding real things. For instance, I'll bring the mic in. I have this microphone here, and really this is the only mic I have at home to make this track with. So after I did the electronic stuff, I would just take this and I'll play this. You can hear the track going here. This is the actual track. What that does is it gives it a human element that when you're programming, it isn't there. It's all very metronomic and it's all quantized, and you can fix it so it's perfect. And I'm not after perfection. I am after excellence, but I'm not after perfection. So what I very often do, I would say almost always do, is when I'm programming a beat for an artist or for myself, is I'll make sure that there's a human element by adding so those types of shakers or real drums. Sometimes just a snare drum hit. Sometimes like the ride cymbal that's here. Let me get this there. But on that track, if you go to it's on my Bandcamp page, pcmuñoz.bandcamp.com. You can hear the real ride cymbal there. You can hear the electronic stuff in there as well. But overlaid, I put all sorts of different organic acoustic percussion, which humanizes the feel and makes it feel a little bit warmer and a little less mechanical in terms of how the track comes across. I want to show you a couple more apps. I know I actually don't have a ton of time. Oh, there's another one that I like quite a bit. For those of you who like hip hop, there's and I'm sure that many of you know about these things already, but I'm just getting excited sharing them with you. So there's this one, it's like a drum app. They release a series of drum apps, and this one's called Drum Pads 24. You've probably seen it. Like you can use it to play along with your favorite songs. The song parts are built in. I don't use them. My son uses those a lot. I use this one to help create beats. And I like this one a lot because it has this. I don't know if you can hear that. Very deep hip hop kick drum and these kind of sounds. This is like. So I just like the sounds on here, and it's very easy to program on this and to slip it into GarageBand or whatever recording system you're using. And again, even though I'm a really experienced producer and someone who's used to being in studios, that is the reason why I don't have any fancy stuff at home, because I like going there and I like, going to work and doing my work in studios. So I've always kept the stuff at home really simple. And like I said, during this shelter in place, I've actually found it to be really, really helpful, like, and liberating in a weird way, to have these constrictions of, well, I don't have every sound available to me. I don't have, all these wonderful mics that my studio colleagues have, and I don't have all this outboard gear, but I can still be really resourceful and think, how can I make really high quality work while sitting here with very little? So I'm hoping that the things I show you today will inspire you to take a look at what you have around, even if it's not a lot. Like, my son is a piccolo and flute player, like Professor Wright, and he gets a hold of my multi-track stuff, and he just, he layers tons and tons of piccolo and flute parts. It's pretty funny, and we have a lot of fun playing together on that stuff. And I also want to show, I showed this earlier, this is the Korg Monotron, which is one of, I happen to know, is one of Professor Ray's favorite instruments, because we've used it live together. It is a teeny tiny synthesizer that Korg made that has, I mean, you can see how small it is. And makes these trippy, spacey sounds, and great for solos, great for ambient, and if apps aren't doing it for you and you want to explore some more, this one's really cool. And another one that I really like, and I don't know if any of you have heard of this. This was more popular in the 60s in the UK. This thing called a stylophone. Now, stylophone was kind of like an early home synthesizer, and you complete a circuit by touching this stylus to this. So it's like, if it isn't already apparent to you, it's pretty important to me to have original sounds. So I'm very, very, very hesitant to use anything that's really typical or off show. Oh, and also there's an app that I love a lot, and I use this particular one a lot on a record I did 2 years ago called Physical Science. And it's called the Filtertron. It's made by Moog, which is a synthesizer company. And I'll pull that up and show it to you real quick. It's Filtertron. It's kind of expensive, but it's worth it. So there's great surface area that that allows you a lot of sonic space. It's good for decorating. It's good for decorating on a track. It's good for background stuff. And also there's a sampler built into this, which you can use, and you can load your own sounds into it, and you can manipulate it pretty extensively. I also really like this one, which is not well known at all, but it's a lot of fun. It's called Space Synth. It's super easy. Even has the little space visuals. Sort of theremin-y. And again, kind of lives in that area where you have to figure out what the key and the tone and stuff, but gives a nice sonic decoration. And let me see. Oh, fusion and jazz records. Herbie Hancock played them a lot, and Prince used it a lot. Let me see, let me make sure I have it here. Yeah, and they also, just like Korg released the K-Oscillator, they also released the Mini Moog, which is a classic synth, for free, with just with this, and it might still be free. So I would check into it on your apps, on your app store. I'm trying to find anything else that I really. This thing called Figure. Now this one is cool because there's little kind of presets that are already in there. And you can alter virtually every part of it. I can go back in and manipulate them in all kinds of ways, change the keys, change the way the sounds are going, change the pattern. It's a good, for me, it's a good, I've never made a song with it, but it's a good idea generation and sort of self-jamming thing that can be helpful for when you're creating tracks. Let me see if there's something else in here that I must show you. Oh, there's an app for the stylophone. I showed you the stylophone before. If you don't feel like getting that thing delivered to you, there's an app for it. Oh yeah, I showed you the trap drum. I showed you the trap drum app that has those sounds on it. But there are also many other ones. They have electro, they have hip hop, and they have dubstep ones with all the built-in sounds, and you can mess around and you can make your own beats with them, and you can make little loops with them and then try other things. And again, the way I made Dollars for Steak, the song you heard earlier, that was completely on GarageBand with like whatever version of GarageBand I have, because I very, very rarely use it. It's what I have here at home. And I just started messing around with it and seeing how I could get it done. And like I said, I did mix it properly, and then it was professionally mastered in New York. But the recording was nothing special. It was me and this thing and my phone and the shaker that I showed you and a few other things and some of these synthesizers. But that's what my goal for today was really to hopefully inspire you to take a look at what you have around your house in terms of your music stuff, whatever instrument you play, and to think about creating with it. I encourage you, even if you don't consider yourself a composer, to jump onto these recording tools and try something. Even if it's just recording a solo you're supposed to be working on, or recording a part that you're supposed to be learning, or whatever it is, or even if it's reciting something that you've memorized from a song that you like a lot. That's the way my son's in middle school, and he'll listen to whatever songs are happening right now, and he'll he'll learn it and jump on the GarageBand and try and figure out how to track it. And I've been showing him how he can make his own beats. And the thing about having a mic too is you can beatbox your own beat. If you don't want to program, you can always do it with vocals, or you can do it with whatever a box you have lying around. One of the things I use a lot is a suitcase with different percussion. Hold on. Okay. Hold on a second. Okay, so Ray was asking about this. So a lot of my musician colleagues really love this thing. I call it the train hopper kit, because the idea, so you can see, it's an jump off this with my suitcase and collaborate with anyone with this little kit. This actually, it's a small footprint. Musicians and sound people appreciate a lot of things. It's on, I'm using this a lot at home because it doesn't need a great microphone setup either. I can just throw up this one mic I have and put it a little bit above it and capture the sounds. So I think I'm supposed to wrap up, and then I'm going to meet you on Zoom. So I'll see you on Zoom. I hope to see your faces there, and take questions and talk about stuff, and compare Dons and Broncos maybe. So I'll see you on the Zoom link in a few minutes. Does that sound about right, Professor Ray? Okay, so I'm going to end the stream now, and then I'm going to go over to your Zoom. Okay, bye, see you. Hey, hello. Wow, that's cool to see everybody. Oh, good. Okay. That's a really good question to answer, but I'll tell you, I was fairly practical at first. I was an elementary school teacher when I first got out of USF. But I knew that I wanted to do music and writing. I knew that I knew that I was going to be a musician. And I knew I was going to do it. But what I was doing was a fairly typical path where I taught elementary school during the day. Then at night, I would drag on some of the music stuff I was doing. Like I was having to turn down showcases and tours and stuff like that because I was like, well, actually, I got all these second graders I got to take care of. So and it was really pulling at me. So at some point, I was like, okay, I think maybe five was when I was like, I actually have to stop this. Like as much as I love it, I love my kids and I love teaching, and elementary school teaching is really can be really intense and it's very time consuming. So I was like, I have to take this dive where I go. Music needs to be more important, and so that would probably be the moment for me when I was like actively going, okay, this thing pivot to take it a little more seriously. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, Tyron. Songs that I had played, but you still caught it. Um, and so, Tyra, actually, that's entirely accurate. So I would say that my influences are like a confluence of music I grew up on and really value. I grew up as playing a lot of funk jazz, so that's in there in the bottom. And as a drummer, it's music that I appreciate quite. In classes like the kind of classes you're taking there, I got very much into it. I got very much into John Cage, into all sorts of experimental composers, electroacoustic composers, and all sorts of people that do that. And my career has been a lot of balancing that out of doing funk and hip hop tracks that have that type of feel, and then turning around and doing these experimental percussion and oboe tracks, which I like just as much as I like making big beats. So I appreciate you noticing it because that's definitely part of my work. No. Oh, I think a couple people, yeah. Yeah. Good question, Tim. Both. So there are times when like I'll bring something in and I'll be like, this is just a sketch of thing, and I think I want to redo it. And then the engineer and I will throw it into the session and go, actually, that's kind of cool. Like we'll leave it. And then there are other times where it's really clear because of sound quality or because of the way I did it at home or whatever it is, where it's decidedly clear that we can't keep it and I need to need to redo it. But the discernment process comes when I get there, when I'm in there in the room, and the sound's coming out of the speaker, and I'm with the engineer, and we're like, is this working? And we take each track at a time. So if it's, so if I made some loop at home and I'm using it as inspiration and it's working in the studio, we keep it. If we get there and it's like poorly recorded, or I made some mistake technically, then I'll redo it there, and I'll find some other way to recreate it. It's a good question though. Yeah. And somebody else had a question too, I thought. Yeah. But so as a songwriter, it's it's a really typical list. So, people like Prince, people like Bill Withers, Paul McCartney, Bruce Springsteen, these Leonard Cohen, and the artists I mentioned before, like Parliament and Earth, Wind and Fire, were all big people for me growing up. And then, as I grew older, it became more the avant-garde and jazz people. John Coltrane's big for me. Ornette Coleman, Archie Shepp is gigantic. Don Cherry is really, really big for me. Eric Dolphy is really, really big for me. And like Tyra noticed, people like all those people and all those sort of sounds. I'm very drawn to people that can do things really simply, like someone like a Bill Withers or Willie Nelson. And then I'm also drawn to people who create whole new sonic worlds. One of the younger artists I like a lot is a guy named Kishibashi, who does really, really interesting. I try to stay up and see what people are doing and keep those influences I had when I was younger, but also stay open to what's happening.
Yeah, I was just curious, how long it takes you to make like a song, or like how long it takes you to make that one song you showed us.
Yeah. You know what? That one came together quickly because I was thinking of it as a test, and it was within the first like week of shelter in place, when I was just sort of going, okay, what do I have here? Like, what tools do I have here? And I just was like messing around. And as I started shaping it and learning stuff, I was like, this is not bad. I might finish this and put it out. And I think it took me like an evening to do that. Um, it took me a little to do the music, and then a lot of my stuff is word heavy because I do a lot of spoken word and poetry and stuff, and I was contemplating what I was going to do vocally over it, and so it took me a couple of days after I did the music to figure out, okay, what am I going to do that's vocally over it, and I ended up just sort of taking kind of like, I don't know if you know these songs. There's a song called Flashlight by Parliament, and there's a old disco song called The Hustle, where all you hear is a little words here and there, like as a chorus, but otherwise it's an instrumental. And that was kind of the general form I was going. Once I realized that was the form I had, then I kept it. But that one came together fairly quickly. Others take weeks of tweaking sounds and rewriting lyrics over and over, and sometimes retaking things over and over, or redoing things. The guy I mentioned, Brian Eno, who has that app Bloom, he has these little I Ching cards that are supposed to help you if you run into a rut, a creative rut. And there's these little stack of cards where if you're in the studio creating, and it's like, okay, you run into something you're not liking what you're hearing, you pick a card and you must do what it says. And so it could be anything like fire the guitar player, or it could be like take the drums out. And then another one says erase everything and start over. And we used to have those in the studio just as like, inspiration, fire ups, like just a way to pivot your attention if you run into that. And I encourage those types of processes, aleatoric processes where you leave some stuff open to chance. I definitely do that all the time, or for sound, and finding things randomly, seeing how they can fit into a piece that's being constructed cohesively.
Have you ever listened to, I mean, like, or downloaded New York's, like, Bob Julia album?
No, I heard of it, and it's like multimedia, right? And it's like, yeah, no, I'm a fan of hers since since her Sugar Cubes days, but that record I didn't hear.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, if you like download it, it has like the history of her songs, plus like you can touch the screen too, and it like takes you through all the subset noises you may have not let the him pick up on if you
Oh, nice.
how they produced every track. So,
And then can you remix it?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Thanks, Tara. We do always have fun. Dem one. Awesome. Yeah, Dem one is great. And we're sorry we were supposed to come to, to play for you together and as the Right Starter duo that we are, but we're doing these single presentations instead now because of shelter in place. But we'll come back as Right Starter and do some other stuff for you later when we're allowed.